Veldt, go.
Where are you going? He didn't answer. Preoccupied, he padded to the nursery door and listened against it.
Far away, a lion roared.
Roar!
He unlocked the door and opened it.
Just before he stepped inside, he heard a faraway scream.
Ah! He opened the door.
To Africa.
George, I wish you look at the nursery.
What's wrong with it?
I don't know.
And the nursery light flickered on when they came within 10 feet of it.
It had cost half as much as the rest of the house.
But George had said...
Nothing's too good for our children.
The nursery was silent.
It was empty.
The walls were blank.
But now, as George and Lydia Hadley stood in the center of the floor, the walls began to hurt.
An African Veldt appeared, in 3 dimensions on all sides.
In color reproduced to the final pebble and a bit of straw.
The ceiling above them became a deep sky with a hot yellow sun.
Now the hidden orthophonics began to blow a wind of odor.
The hot straw smell of blind grass.
The cool green smell of the hidden water hole.
The great rusty smell of animals.
Filthy creatures.
The lions?
They've just been eating. I don't know what.
Nothing over there I can see but clean bones.
Did you hear that scream about a minute ago?
No.
The lions were coming.
And again, George Hadley was filled with admiration for the mechanical genius who had conceived this room.
A miracle of efficiency.
Sell it
An
for...
absurdly low price.
Every home should have one.
Oh, occasionally they frighten you with their clinical accuracy.
They startle you, give you a twinge.
But most of the time, what
Fun for everyone.
And here were the lions, 15 feet away,
So real, so feverishly and startlingly real.
that you could feel the prickling fur on your hand.
And the yellow room was in your eyes, like the yellow of an exquisite French tapestry.
And the sound of the matted lion's lungs exhaling.
And the smell of meat.
From their panting, dripping mouths.
I'm afraid, it's too real.
The lion stood looking at George and Lydia Hadley with terrible green-yellow eyes. Go away!
But they did not go.
He knew the principle of the room exactly. Whatever you thought would appear. Let's have a lion in this lamp.
But the veil lamb remained.
The lions remained.
Come on, room! I demand a lion!
And nothing happened.
George Hadley thought it wouldn't hurt to turn the kids away from the room a while.
Too much of anything isn't good for anyone.
Oh, the sun!
And the lions.
And
the smell of blood.
Remarkable how the nursery caught the telepathic emanations of the children's minds and created life for their every desire.
The children thought lions, and there were lions.
The children thought zebras, and there were zebras.
Sun.
Death and death. They were awfully young for death thoughts.
It seemed, for the past month, he had heard,
Lions roaring and smelled their strong odor seeping as far away as my study door.
but being busy he had
Paid no attention.
Watch out!
Lydia boasted and ran instinctively. George sprang after her.
They almost got us!
And picked up something that lay in the corner.
What's that?
An old wallet of mine.
There were drops of saliva on it. It had been chewed.
And there were bite marks on both sides.
The smell of hot grass was on it, and
The smell of a lion.
He locked the nursery door.
tight.
George, the lions can't get out of there, can they?
Of course not.
Hello, Mom. Hello, Dad. Father.
Peter looked at his shoes.
He never looked at his father anymore.
Nor his mother.
You aren't going to lock up the nursery for good, are you?
That all depends.
On what?
On you and your sister. If you intersperse this after with a little variety.
I thought we were free to play as we wished.
You are, within reasonable bounds. Matter of fact, we're thinking of turning the whole thing off for about a month.
That sounds dreadful.
It'd be fun for a change, don't you think?
I don't want to do anything but look and smell and listen. What else is there to do?
Will you be shutting it off anytime soon?
We're considering it.
I don't think you better consider it anymore, Father.
I won't have any more threats from my son.
Very well.
In the middle of the night, George was still awake, and he knew his wife was still awake.
I'm beginning to be sorry we brought that room for the children.
We've given them everything they ever wanted.
We've never lifted a hand. They're insufferable. Let's admit it.
They come and go as they wish. They treat us as if we were the offspring.
They're spoiled.
A moment later, they heard two screams coming from downstairs.
And then a roar of lions.
Those screams. They sound so familiar.
Do they?
Yes, awfully.
A smell of cats was in the night air.
George and Lydia went to the fuse box together
And threw the switch
that killed the nursery.
They screamed and crammed.
And threw things.
You can't do that
To the nursery, you can't!
Now, children.
Now, George, let's not be so abrupt. It's cruel.
Don't let them do it!
Peter wailed at the scene as if he was talking to the house, the nursery.
Don't let them kill the nursery. I hate you.
You can't do that to the nursery.
I wish you were dead.
Oh, George, it can't hurt.
All right. All right. If you'll just shut up. 1 minute, mind you, and then off forever.
Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Not Port Africa. What can they see in it?
What prompted us to buy a nightmare?
Just then, they heard the children calling.
Daddy, Mommy, come quick.
Wendy?
Peter?
The Veldt land was empty.
Except for the lions. Waiting, looking at them.
Wendy?
Peter?
The door slammed.
Wendy!
Peter, open up! You've locked it from the outside. Peter, open the door!
He heard Peter's voice outside the door.
Don't let them lock up the nursery and the house, said Peter.
Now, children, don't be ridiculous.
Mr. and Mrs. George Hadley beat at the door.
And then they heard the sounds.
In the yellow Veldt grass.
Padding through the dry straw.
Rumbling and roaring in their throats. The lions. Mr. Hadley looked at his wife.
And they turned and looked back at the beast, edging slowly forward, crouching.
Tails stiff.
And suddenly they realized
Where those screams had
Sounded so familiar.
Curtain!